We wanted to release our Bibo story first, but because of the recent events in Trong Nguyen's death in Calgary, we wanted to get this out. Most of you have heard by now or seen the footage that depicts a very well-known FOB gangster get gunned down in his driveway. In this video, we're going to dissect Trong and his overall status, as well as look into some movements that a lot of us have picked out from watching the footage. We won't be covering the gang to the extent that some of you may be expecting, and that's because we will be releasing a very detailed video regarding YYC and its gang world. 2 days ago now, Canada and more specifically Calgary may have just witnessed the re-spark of FOB versus FK. In what we originally speculated to be the current leader of FOB, we now understand Trong to have been just an OG and very high-ranking member of the gang. We'll get into the current leadership structure and fishy movements in the actual shooting footage later in the video. For now, we're going to look at Nguyen and his resume in the criminal underworld. Trong was 38 years old, and for the lifestyle that he had been living since a teenager, this is practically unheard of. Making it to 40 is a miracle, and we've seen time and time again on how these gangsters are marked for death, whether it's today, tomorrow, or in 15 years. It's a timeline that most of these criminals have accepted. And because of how public and brazen the whole shooting was, it kind of shows you that he was wanted pretty bad, and we think he was wanted for a long time. We want to show you guys what Trong was recently up to before his tragic death, and we're going to break him down without spoiling too much of our upcoming video in the FOB and FK series. Nguyen was the youngest of 6 siblings and got himself involved with the gang when he was a teenager. His family was typical immigrants, all born in Vietnam before moving to a refugee camp in Thailand, before finally coming to Canada in 1989. The wildest part about his past was that he only ever got charged and convicted for gang-related offenses that defined his loyalty and played a huge role in why he's been considered such a powerful figure, even though he stands at 5'5" with a very small build. It didn't matter though, because this guy was known to be fearless, and we saw it early in his life when he was first convicted for shooting at multiple FK members, one of them being Vinh Trong, aka Fat Vinh. This was the same guy that Trong had been trying to kill for over 10 years, with the most recent attempt in 2012 when he planned on killing him at a cemetery and courthouse. Here's a quick little breakdown on the 10+ years he spent in jail, all that time to try and kill one man, an enemy to his gang. Keep in mind that Trong was actually pretty much out of the game, hence why the judge was so lenient with his sentencing, and if it weren't for the police revealing and confirming his whereabouts, this guy would probably still be alive. We have to consider the whole snitch factor, but we don't think that this was the case with Trong. But the FOB gang has gone through a fair share of experiences in regards to their past members turning into CIs and whatnot. And the weird thing about it all is that the public were well informed on the informant known as AB, a past member who helped put Trong behind bars. We'll look more into AB and his whole situation in the actual FOB vs FK series, but it is important to note that Nguyen sort of admired and envied how this gangster turned agent got himself away from the lifestyle. This guy seemed like he did everything right in terms of not getting himself drawn back into anything, and in Langdon, Calgary, he was shot to death after being forced to remain in the area 2 days ago. Before we look into some weird oddities in the actual video footage of his death, we're going to explore some possible theories on who ordered his hit. We wouldn't be surprised if FK was behind this, and more specifically Fat Vinh, and that's because he himself was being hunted for so long. Another theory, the more unpopular one that we can't rule out, is the fact that this could have just been a fat setup and Trong was done dirty by his own guys. This also wouldn't be a surprise because when you look at the leaders and the Chan brothers, they're capable of anything. And if there's one thing they know a lot about, it's a close associate snitching on them. This whole FOB and FK situation will be detailed in our next video, but when you compare them to the Brothers Keepers for an example, they're very identical, as both had a drift within their gangs that led to Bibo and FK forming. The first thing we draw out on is the most obvious, and it's when Trong is pulling up into his driveway and looks like he stops for a second, almost recognizing someone or something before proceeding. We all know how the killers removed the tracking device from the rear end of the vehicle after blasting at Trong, but here's what we actually didn't catch until watching it again. We're going to show the footage again, but we want you to watch out for the individuals that look like they're running to assist the victim, and look at how they're all wearing gloves and how one seemingly tosses something over to the suspect truck. Due to the quality of the footage, we aren't going to claim anything or say they picked something up we can't see, but everything is really weird. We personally feel like Trong must have seen someone he recognized because this guy was just way too advanced to not attempt to at least drive away from bullets. If you guys catch anything else weird in the video, make sure you comment on our blog. Thank you everyone for all the support. We appreciate everything. We hope you guys enjoyed this little profile we completed on Trong Nguyen.